I want to jump to this story from Media Matters. Luke, you want to read that one?
It is titled, Tim Pool and co-host make absurd claims that the government wants to control your cooking through the power grid.
You want to know why that's really funny? So, Luke, they're ragging on you here because you mentioned, and it was Jamie Michelle from Gays Against Groomers, and you said, for me, this is happening in order to push the kind of digitized everything. To fully have a technocratic society, you need everyone dependent on technology. And if you're able to cut off that technology, you're able to control people more, and cutting people's ability to heat their own food by simply clicking a button. That could be easily done with this new policy. And I think that's what they're really doing, in my opinion. Media Matters says it's absurd, except in California, they already turned off people's ability to charge their cars. In Colorado, people got notices that they opted into a program.
Yep,
that they couldn't change the heating on their homes. They couldn't turn the air conditioning up. So when you see, this is how the media laundering works. You see a thing happen. They say, you cannot charge your car because the grid is overloaded. That happened. Then they say, you cannot turn on your air conditioning because the grid is overloaded. Then we sit here and go, now they want everyone to have only gas stoves. They want to be able to control the grid.
Electric stoves.
Electric stoves and electric cars, which they want to put on the grid in California. And
which
no
is already
gas
overloaded.
cars or diesel cars.
And they've already turned off.
Yeah.
So we're not speculating at all. We're saying, hey, you know the thing they already did? If they get this, they can do it more. And then Media Matters comes out and says, what a weird conspiracy theory.
Yeah, New York, California, Washington, and Maryland. Maryland or Massachusetts, I think one of those two. Someone has to correct me on in the chat room there. All have quasi-natural gas bans in place and programs that phase them out over the next decade. The Biden administration is, of course, working closely with the EPA to make this a federal policy. And obviously, with the grid being overloaded in many instances, this is obviously going into why would they be doing this other than trying to, one, control everyone, or two, create organized chaos? What's the reason here? Can someone give me an explanation here? Did they give us an explanation here with Media Matters explaining why this is happening? I bet they didn't. I haven't read this article, but I'll eat my own words if they did.
It's funny. I said if they ban gas stoves nationwide, that means rural people won't have access to a lot of those. Won't have access, and a lot of those people have gas tanks in their houses, which would put their cooking on the grid, and that grid can be controlled by external forces. Granted, you can also get solar. The thing about solar is that even when you're in a rural area, because we set this up, you can get your own gas tank. Now you can heat your house. Now you can cook your food. You don't got to worry about it. With solar, you still have to get permission from the utilities and the grid to turn on. But theoretically, you could create your own solar, internalize the grid or whatever. But I think, this is another step towards absolute control.
Yeah, and now you add that with smart cities, smart grids, walkable cities, surveillance cameras, artificial intelligence, facial recognition. They're setting up essentially a prison all around you, a technocratic digital one that there's no escaping. And
don't forget, the voice of the robots always got to be British. I don't know why, but they do. Yeah. And then you're going to go to your kitchen and you're going to go to your refrigerator and there's going to be a camera on it, and you're going to try and open it, it won't open, and it's going to be like, I'm sorry, Luke, you're looking pretty fat. And you're going to be like, I'm hungry. No, you're not. And then it just doesn't open.
Yeah.
I mean, not seriously like that, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was like, warning, your refrigerator has been turned off due to excessive usage. You are over your allotment of carbon by 47 points or whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you open your fridge, your food will spoil.
Yeah, carbon, social credit score through the central bank digital currencies that they're all talking about implementing through the World Economic Forum in Davos. So yeah, it's already here in many instances.
I imagine it's like we're playing a game of chess. And Luke is saying, look, they can move their knight here and that would be a problem. And then Media Matters says, no, that's not a problem at all. And we're like, wait a second, you can make that move. So that stuff like that actually wakes people up. The more they do silly stuff like that, it wakes people up.
Look there's even the quote from Luke saying, oh, your Tesla is also going to be off too.
Yeah, it's like Luke saying if the knight gets moved there, that could be a problem. And they say, Luke said that the government's planning on moving his knight there. And Luke's like, I didn't say that they are. I mean, at least in your quote, you didn't say they are. You said, I think that this can happen. I mean, you were pretty plain this what you think can happen. I don't think you're
when
claiming
I express
to know what other people are
when I
doing.
express my opinions, I say I'm expressing my opinions because it's important to do that because again, we don't know for sure what the future is going to look like, but we see through the UN 2030 vision, we see through the Great Reset, through the Build Back Better, we see through all their talking points, their own articles, their own websites, them calling for this, essentially having total control of everyone's life through technology. And whether it's your refrigerator having Wi-Fi or your blender or your stove or your car, being dependent on the grid, having smart grids, having everything online leads to a lot of possibilities of a lot of powerful people using that power and authority over you to punish you arbitrarily for whatever they want.
Did you see Klaus Schwab saying the next bad thing will be if the power grid goes out across the earth? I mean, it was just a Twitter video I'm seeing. Like, could you imagine a life 2035 where some false flag or some organization decides to shut off the power grid of the entire planet, and then people can't cook, they can't drive, and then they start getting these warnings on their phone, we need you to mobilize to do X. Like, people are going to be out of their freaking mind. They'll do whatever the government freaking tell. Like, we do not want to find ourselves in that position. That is my point. And it is like, do the math. Do the math. If you think it can happen and you've done the math and it shows that it can, then it can. No matter how many times people ridicule you.
Yeah, we're slowly and surely losing our rights. And not only that, we're losing our privacy. We're losing our ability to be secure. And we're heading down one particular road, and it's a pretty clear road. We're on a train, and there's another train coming. And now claiming that a train's coming or you're on the train is somehow absurd. So, whatever.
Yeah, there's no dispute that the government could do what Luke is talking about. So it's interesting that they don't cover that. Like, that could be a problem, whether it's on purpose or not. If you get everybody on electric devices, then you have more control over them.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if Hitler had the technological advancements that we have right now. I mean, he was already using IBM. He was already using some of the biggest corporations in the world that were working with him and helping him facilitate a his larger power grabs. What are you waving?
Don't you ever watch Justice League, bro?
No, I don't.
So,
I don't know.
I can't remember. It's been a long time since I watched this episode, but I think it was Vandal Savage. I'm not sure. But all of a sudden history changes and the Nazis had won in the future. And it's because a single like 2000s laptop was sent back to Nazi Germany. It was a really awesome point to make for a kids show. Because like, to understand the computational power of a modern laptop in the hands of a world power, it's like, dude, the Enigma machine was this like ultimate device the Nazis had. And it was just like this rudimentary analog device where they moved cables around to encrypt messages. I have to imagine that like Enigma encryption is like dog crap compared to today's computers. Yeah. And I bet any modern laptop, well, I could be wrong about this, but I'd assume a modern laptop could crack the Enigma encryption. So like, I watched, what was that movie with Benedict Cumberbatch? What is it called?
About
Enigma and Alan Turing.
Yeah, that's right.
I thought it was a really bad movie, by the way. But basically, he builds this machine that goes through every possible, a passcode or like permutation to figure out what the Nazi messages are.
The imitation game.
Yeah, there you go.
That's right.
And it's like he builds the computer. It's like one of the first computers, and it's mechanical, and things are just like spinning. Man, you take a modern cell phone for $20.
Yeah.
And you're gonna like press a button, it's gonna go like decrypting.
Yeah, like don't you think that would be pretty fast, Ian? Like just to run, like literally just brute forcing it with a laptop. Eventually, I think it wouldn't take too long for it to
do what?
To crack Enigma.
I don't know enough about Enigma. I think quantum computing is insane though, because it can treat numbers as a 1 and a 0, and it's trying to figure out number strings. So it can,
if homie could build a computer in like 1941 or whenever it was, or 43. To crack an encryption, I'm pretty sure our computers today can easily crack that encryption.
I think so too.
Very, very fast.
Hitler was like, the only reason that he was who he was, for the most part, is because of the technology that he had. Like telephone, I don't know what their phone situations were like. Yeah, telephone, they had video, they had film. The manipulation of film and radio got an entire country of people rallied around him. So now we're just on the next magnitude of global communication systems that can be hijacked.
Guys, Enigma was like considered unbreakable. It was originally cracked in like the late 30s by a Polish dude, and then Alan Turing famously worked on this machine to crack it. I just Google searched on Quora. It says, how long would it take today's computers to crack the Enigma machine? And this guy, Rupert Baines, responds, GCHQ, the UK version of NSA, did it with a Raspberry Pi and Legos in 15 seconds.
Wow. That's wild.
15 seconds, dude. Imagine taking one of those things back to World War II. Crazy.
Yeah, and for that headline, the other part of it is, so Luke says the government could make this chess move. So then Media Matters says, don't look at the move, don't look at the move. Doesn't that make you even think more like you're going to make that move? Why would you not acknowledge that move could be made? The downsides to pushing everybody to electric.
And they called me an InfoWars employee. I was never an InfoWars employee. You got that wrong again.
Well, they just post fake news anyway.
I mean, get your facts straight. Like, if you're going to call me an employee of a former company, okay, let's fact check that I actually worked for that company. I didn't.
I got to be honest. I really like Media Matters because all they really do is create like clips of the show. It's like aside from putting the word absurd in the title, I really don't mind that they're clipping the show and sharing it with everybody.
And then they just run the
free advertising.
What's the text they run?
It's just a transcript.
Yeah. I noticed that article transcript.
And then I was
Big
like,
fans of Media Matters.
Like at the bottom, it's like, in this article, Tim Pool. And then I'm like, oh, what's this? For some reason, they use this picture of me from like 12 years ago. What's up with that?
I'm glad they brought up the...
It's hard to find pictures of you, I think, Tim.
I don't think. I'm on the show every single night.
He has a YouTube channel every day.
Other than screenshots of the show.
Oh, they use the black and the red background to make it kind of look like fascist.
You know what I love? This one right here. It says, extremist bigots and conspiracy theorists, YouTuber Tim Pool's 2022 guests in review. And it's like, they try really hard to smear people. Mm-hmm. Like the things they were saying about Adrienne Curry, it's just like, are you nuts? Like they're just desperately trying to make everybody extreme right. And I'm pretty sure they did not put Seamus on the list. And Seamus was like, I was a co-host of that show for 7 months.
It was the most extreme, the most bigoted.
He's like, I'm a conservative Catholic. I didn't make the list.
I think one of the problems I feel like Media Matters is having in a lot of companies is that they're looking for drama where there doesn't have to be any. Sometimes you're just talking about stuff.
Yeah, I think part of it is to make sure that what they're really afraid of, just like when Tim did his event this weekend, they're afraid of you going out and meeting people and talking to people of all different political spectrums. So Media Matter does that, and it's less likely that you're going to get a leftist on your show, right? They don't want to be called right wing or you're talking with all these radical people. So it keeps you in the echo chamber. I think that's why I like the idea you guys are doing with the coffee shops. Like, let's get together and talk. It can be apolitical. I'm wearing a Yaira shirt from Eric July. He has his comic book. He made this character up. And that's just like you guys do your music. It's apolitical. They don't want Cenk Uygur on this show. They wouldn't want that. I know it would be contentious, but they don't want people of different politics coming on.
I don't think it would. We had the Krasensteins on.
Yeah,
it was
just had them on.
It was kind of boring.
Yeah,
it was just like we know each other's opinions and we disagree, and it's like okay, because a lot of people were like, Tim, push back harder, and I'm like, the dudes are allowed to have opinions we disagree with. I can't be like, I think your opinion is wrong. It's like, well, I think your facts are wrong. Like here's where I think and they're like, well, we like these things, and I'm like, well, you're allowed to like them.
Yeah, but those discussions are important though. So they don't want that happening.
But why do you think that is?
Why they don't want that happening?
Yeah, it's a speculation at this point.
Well, I mean, I'm playing chess too. I think they want everybody funneled online. The pandemic was a great opportunity because you can control people with algorithms. And it's very hard online to break out of your algorithm. So they don't want people if you talk with somebody else, then you can say, hey, oh, I got this problem too. My kids are having this problem at school. And then all of a sudden, how do you do stochastic terrorism? If I know you and we have a connection and you're my neighbor or we've had a couple of discussions and somebody says, oh, he's saying all this radical stuff, you can't really make that stick. I know him. I'm not worried about your thing. So I think the solution to all of this is connecting with people. I mean, right, Tim? I mean, that's what you're doing with your culture stuff.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.